Jim Hill sponsors Joshua versus Molina on Sky Sports Box Office.
Well, we're here at the press conference. We're going to do a bit of David Attenborough. We're going to look at the lesser-haired photographer sending his photographs back to the desk. We've got the man who should have nailed down the tables yesterday, but he didn't.
The man who calmed Del Boy down.
Yeah. The man who calmed Del Boy down. The lesser-haired photographer. There. Yeah. I'm doing my David Attenborough on the press conference. I'm jealous of your size and shape, as she says every night. Come over here. So, press conference is over. The proper working journalists, not videographers, are actually doing their jobs.
You're a
now.
videographer as well, though, Gareth.
At times.
At times.
Let me just have a very quick word with Mr. Hayward here, and then we can carry on. Mr. Hayward working away here. I'm doing my David Attenborough on what happens in the press conference room afterwards. So you're doing the greatest sports writer of our time here, Paul Hayward. You're doing a big. It is. You're doing a big overarching piece today on Anthony Joshua, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I like him. He fascinates me. I think he's the real deal. I think he's the not the saviour of heavyweight boxing, because heavyweight boxing doesn't need saving really, but he's the next kind of idol of the sport, I think, and I just think he has everything to fulfil that role. So I find him a very compelling individual.
Definitely. And what do you want from me today? Am I doing Molina?
If you could get me a sandwich, because I haven't.
Okay, I'll get him a sandwich. I can get a sandwich and a coffee. We'll leave Paul to do his thing. It's a really important point that Paul's making about Anthony Joshua. But of course, we need Tyson Fury back, because we need the heel back in the division as well. He's the guy that scattered the belts to the winds. Yeah, he took Klitschko out, scattered the belts to the winds. I really hope Tyson Fury comes back, because Joshua is going to be a massive name in 2017. You go ahead, Kugan. What else do you need to ask me?
Can you come away from this light here, Gareth? So, Gareth, I want to ask your opinion about Yes's antics in this very press conference room. I think we can all agree it wasn't a great image for boxing, but ultimately beef sells, and this Chisora White feud has... what do you use the word? Caught the imagination.
No, it's lit the event.
Yeah,
it's lit the event. It's you need fires under events. You know that it slumbered. This event slumbered. It was announced late. The media schedule was announced late. We haven't had much time around Anthony Joshua. There hasn't been that build-up that we normally feel around these big pay-per-view events. But on Wednesday at the news conference, it really did ignite. Anthony Joshua made the point to us today that you sometimes need these things. It doesn't bother him, because even in America, for example, they love the heel. Events and people that polarize, and then they become more popular. Joshua's on the money. It was not good for boxing. It won't be good for the two men involved if the Boxing Board of Control decide they're pulling the fight on Saturday night. By the time this goes out, that decision will probably have been made, unless Kugan gets on it and on the money, and gets this out there quickly. But you know, were you at the Munich brawl those years ago? No.
One of the biggest regrets.
Well,
yeah.
I was there that night, and there were shades of that. It was a very ugly atmosphere. David Hay had come over to work for the broadcasters. There wasn't much security in the room that night. The security, in fact, was only there for Klitschko, and they kind of moved back as Chisora kicked off with Hay. And if you think about it, Chisora was there on that corner in Munich, and he came down this line of seats, and Hay was standing about back here. So he had to come 20 yards for it to kick off. I was standing in an aisle there, and it got very, very ugly. There was that feeling about this room yesterday. Thankfully, the security here, they do a fantastic job, and it was nullified very quickly. But it could have been a very, very ugly and volatile scene in here yesterday afternoon.
I suppose, from the moment that Derek Chisora put his glasses down, he could sense something was going to occur. We didn't really know what was going to occur.
Listen, remember, Derek has had his licence taken away. He's been on anger management courses. He's spat at, slapped, bit,
Kissed.
There's nothing wrong with kissing an opponent. There's nothing wrong with kissing about. I think that's the funniest thing of all. No, not you. You're not my opponent. Don't kiss me. You haven't got the right to kiss me. Yeah. No. No. We know that Derek's volatile, and I think maybe it was a strategy from Mark Tibbs and Dillian White to really get under his skin, because Derek's a difficult proposition for Dillian. Because if Dillian can't get on him and put him away, it could be a hard night. Derek's the favourite, remember? So Derek's got a snapping point. I do think Dillian was citing, was being quite provocative early on in that press conference, and then he calmed down. He had his say and he calmed down. Mark Tibbs was unusually animated as well. Thankfully, no one got hit, even by the table, I don't think, although it might have knocked some sense into Adam Smith. If I can say that. No, we never want that. We don't want it, but when it does happen, it doesn't do any damage to the interest in the event.
That's a good way of putting it, and I 100% agree with that. Many people won't, but I agree with it.
That is what's going to take the pay-per-view to 500,000 or 450,000. Without that on the card, I don't think there was that kind of interest in it. We don't get the figures because they're not released, but it wasn't burning brightly, this event. It was a treading water fight, ready for April the 29th, when we're going to see Anthony Joshua in the test that will take him to a level that he will never be able to come back down from again. Every fight after that it's got to be Hay, it's got to be Wilder, it's got to be all the challengers, the Ortizes of this world, because there isn't any way back. Can I go and work now?
You can, Gareth. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure, Cougs.
7-minute insight was enough. We'll catch up again this week at some point.
Yeah, cheers.
Top man. Thank you, Gareth Davies.